Oh, I think we're gonna start with some thank yous, correct? All right. Firstly, as a team, we would like to thank University of the Pacific's President Christopher Callahan, the Vice President Maria Blasingisi, who is always asking us how we're doing and is always interested in our program, and even took us to Sizzlers the last time we won a national title in 2022. Hopefully this time it'll be Texas Roadhouse. Dean of the College of the Pacific, Dean Lee Skinner, Teresa Bergman, the chair of communications, the chair of the communications department under which the debate team operates, the Pacific Forensics Alumni Association for their continued material and emotional support of the team. Their encouragement is always heartfelt and appreciated. With the support of these people, our team has been able to thrive and continues to grow through their involvement, and their involvement is the foundation for our success. Now, personally, I would like to thank my parents for their unconditional support of my pursuit of this new challenge. This is my first year of debate. Without their continued encouragement, I wouldn't have been able to experience the success I've already had in this space. I would also like to thank my coaches for their patience and their mentorship. They continue to encourage my learning and push me to be a better debater, but more importantly, a better person. I would also like to thank my coaches, Tiara, Jonathan, and Sean. You have all been an incredible force, both as really knowledgeable and awesome coaches, but also as a support system for me as a debater and as a person. Particularly, I'd love to thank our head coach, Steve, whose guidance and mentorship has been invaluable to me. I've never doubted that he's believed in me and that he has brought me here. Additionally, I'd like to thank the friends I've made along the way in debate, the people sitting here today, that being my teammates. They've helped me, they've showed me the ropes, not only in round, but also assured me from time to time that I am capable and that I belong here. The laughter and the camaraderie I continue to share with them is so important to me. But more importantly, I couldn't be here without my partner, Ileana, whose birthday is actually today. So if everybody wants to wish her a happy birthday, she's debating on her birthday. As best friends and as teammates, Ileana, thank you for making this so fun, and thank you for allowing me to grow with you as a partner. And with that, let's move on to Ileana's thank you.
First, I want to thank my older sister, Angie, for getting me into debate and being one of the biggest support systems in debate. She convinced me to do debate camp at UoP Summer Institute, and since then I've been interested in debate. If it wasn't for her, I would not be at UoP in debate, so thank you. My family and support system outside of debate, which comes down to my mom, my dad, Elizabeth, my little sister, my Aunt Laura, and my Uncle Gilbert, and they always support me in everything everything I do, and being there for me no matter what, and always calling me and texting me and checking in on me and my sister, no matter where we are in tournaments. And then I also want to thank my Big for always being there for me. Love you, Big. I also want to acknowledge that and thank this community and the friends that I've made in debate community. It's also thank you guys for giving your opinions and giving your mindsets, because it's actually helped me grow. And I want to thank Kevin Ozamaro, who alongside my sister was one of my first coaches ever in the debate Summer Institute I experienced. And he actually first exposed me to the structure of debate at UoP. And Kevin played a large role in my interest in debate. And I also want to thank my main coach, Dr. Stephen Kalani-Farias, for believing in me and showing me what debate can offer. I also want to thank all of the assistant coaches. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting me.
All right.
And I also want to thank my partner.
Oh, sorry. I'll give my thank yous then. I don't really have them prepped because I was focusing on prepping the debate round. So I'll just say it from the heart. I'm going to start with thanking Luis, because he's made this tournament for me a really enjoyable experience. Every time I get to debate with Luis, it's a new thing every time, and I just love it. I love being able to have a new partner in debate and just learn a new way to debate based on how he thinks. I want to thank Adrian, who's another person on my debate team. He's sort of my senior debate team, because he is one of the smartest people I've ever met, and he helps me imagine debate in ways that I never thought I would be able to, and he makes this a genuinely fun and productive activity for me, and he's a really strong support system for me in this space. I want to thank all three of my judges. I want to thank Alan because Alan is just such a genius mind, and he always preps out the best arguments, and he's such a supportive system. And even though he's new to my team, he always makes me feel like I will have a chance no matter what team I'm up against. I could be going up against Brenna and Tristan. And as long as I got Alan, I might have a chance. I don't know. I want to thank Kendall for just being there, like especially in this tournament. When I had trouble with some of my losses, she was like the first person to really like help me and be like, oh, you can contest that, or like support me in my emotions. And even if I don't really think that contesting was the best decision in the long run, the fact is that, I don't know, she was sort of like a mini therapist for me, and it really helped me deal with how I was feeling about debate. I want to thank Andrea, especially because at St. Mary's College of California, the college that I go to, it's a predominantly Catholic college. And it's really hard for me as a non-binary person to fit in. And I don't have the capacity to just go anywhere and feel like I belong. But when I went to the debate space, I could just be there, and I felt supported to an extent that I didn't have access to anywhere else in the college. And that makes debate a place that I want to be and that I want to stay, and it makes debate a uniquely positive experience for me. And that's, they're really one of the biggest reasons that I'm still in debate, despite all of the emotional and mental turmoil it has given me. And yeah, those are gonna be my thank yous for debate. I also want to thank Eva because she's like one of my best friends, and she joined debate because of me, and she's like just so like I'm just happy she's here because it makes everything so much easier for her. So yeah, that's my thank yous.
I also didn't have anything prepped. I really want to it's gonna be kind of bland. But I want to thank personally my coaches, Andrea with the prep. Sometimes sometimes I argue with you, sometimes a little too much, and I apologize for that. But I really do appreciate a lot of the feedback, and I'm quite receptive to the stuff that you've given me, helping me grow as an individual and in the debate space. Kendall for the last minute notice. Kendall flew here like yesterday. He flew in yesterday and has been has made such a like positive impact on our team and our prep room. I also want to thank Adrian. Adrian is generally like that guy. Love Adrian. I also want to give one of my biggest thank yous to Jasper, as Jasper has made this like actually a fun experience. I kind of came in to debate and kind of thinking that it could be more, but it didn't feel like that until like I got part of the Jasper, and genuinely it just feels like such a positive thing to be able to be here and debate with Jasper. It means literally everything to me. I love you, Jasper. And then I guess I want to say my last thank yous are gonna go to my dad for he's gonna see this and cry for really being able to be there for me, to be able to put me in positions knowing that we don't have anything or we have much. He gives me everything that he can, and he does the best that he can as a father, even if I know sometimes that's all that he can give. Yeah, that's the last thank you I want to give to. Thank you, Dad. I love you.
Okay. Okay, yeah. We're ready to start the round when you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay then, starting my first speech, if everybody's good to go. Cool, starting the time now, the resolution, the International Court of Justice should rule that Israel is violating the Genocide Convention in response to Israel's treatment of Palestine in Gaza. The harms are, first, the American and Israel violence are co-amplifying the tactics of tools for inflicting genocidal terror through the dissemination and exchange between settler entities and normalized through the dissemination of Zionist propaganda. So point A is going to be, there is an unbreakable mythic bond that forges a moral community, according to American Israel. B is gonna be according to the new Arab, form of Gaza's, Jabalia refuge camp, to South Dakota's, Ridge resolution, through indigenous people over 6,000 miles apart stand defiant against the same traditional settler colonial machine, and that their resistance is united against the ongoing, ethnic cleansing and the colonization of Palestinians for the indigenous lands. And it also makes, the 531st year of the American settler colonial oppression of the indigenous people, turn to Islam over half a millennium of a systematic disposition, erasure, forced relocation, and genocide. The next is going to be they exist through the connection between the settler violence of the United States and Israel. Both settled entities bear roots of religious fanaticism and plundering indigenous resources at an alarming rate and are profoundly complicated in climate change. Two is going to be the unbreakable bond that continues. The American Israel does not away with the strategic defense, planning in favor of genocidal uses of force where death is on the line. The critique of violence, the moral high ground, and the cherry picking of violence, willing in ignorance of Palestine blood is what American Israel and perpetuates the colonial narrative, justifies Israel's voice as self-defense. Subpoint A is going to be according to Israel Today. According to the U.S. Secretary of State has declared that the United States supports Israel defense of itself, and this declaration of defense supports amid an ongoing genocide used to the activity revives history written to justify genocidal uses of force. Three is going to be the exceptionism that the colonized people should accept self-defense and reject nuclearism. Eerily resembles the colonial demands for civility, only refusal of words that deems Palestinian babies more dangerous than nukes can solve. Subpoint A is going to be the act of revision paired with the punishment of nuclearization through the sanction of violence is intertwined with colonial logical civility, and it seems in the United States invasion of the middle of the war on terror, where the invasion was justified as self-defense and potential nuclear attacks in the United States, and the perpetuation of the proliferation yet critiques the action by the extremists against the colonized. This punishes civility. The impacts are genocide. Subpoint A, genocide results in trauma and psychological effects. The little I is going to be survivors of genocide often form a train, including post-trauma, stress disorder, depression, anxiety, and survivor's guilt, and the psychological scar can persist from the generation, affecting mental health and well-being of the entire communities. The next is going to be dehumanization. So point A is going to be violence against Palestinians, called the form of dehumanization, where the people are treated as less human beings and can be treated in abusive space. This causes several issues, including erasing their cultural identity and reimagining their past. Israel is creating new trauma that persists for generations. Three is going to be federal colonial violence. The subpoint A is going to be continuing American Israel has created the justified set call that leads to otherization of those who were recolonized and decreases the value of life as the colonized were subject to violence. As these are that the safety, additionality, and impacts out to physical and sexual violence inflicted on those who were colonized. The fourth is going to be the United States imperialism. U.S. imperialism is uniquely harmful for the continued justification about the impact in other parts of the world and the impact that died to violence on literally the United States. Additionally, using United States imperialism as like sections to like this. The plan is the International Court of Justice should rule that Israel is violating the Genocide Convention in response to Israel's treatment of Palestinians in Gaza by demanding the immediate end to military violence and establishment of the sovereign Palestinian state in the southern Levant. Solvency. Our orientation of the impact is the imagination and orientation to joy that runs the apocalypse, meaning that inshallah functions as a subaltern political movement that orients to the impossible. Two is going to be imagination is how the Palestinian resistance remains steadfast to, according to Rana Fakat at the university in Palestine in December 2023, our anchor at the situation is the only way to maintain optimism, to be dejected, to withdraw and refuse to engage. And then four is going to be the ICJ's decision is key to enforcing and legitimizing and commodifying the global reflection of Israel's genocide of Palestine. The ICJ, her government has led 50 countries that ought to be the consequence of Israel's thing. Onto the framework. One, the status quo approaches to policymaking is incapable of resolving colonial violence. So point A, the role of the judge is to vote for the team that with the best method of disrupting colonial violence. B is going to be colonialism is universal phenomenon that is experienced locally. C is going to be we must understand how colonialism is spurred by current politics approaching the to prevent error replication. Two is going to be the present situations demand like this idea of decall thinking that shift the way that we engage with real world issues as an act of epistemic disobedience. Subpoint A is going to be decall relies on the theory in practice, and a simultaneous recognition of resistance against colonial constructions. The next is going to be decall as a prior question and an ongoing process that requires creating spaces for inclusive and respectful of like indigenous knowledge. The next is going to be on the third point is imperial realism to total decall is not realistic within the construct of like the framework of colonialism. Unrealistic domestication that the territorial body of Israel because this like maintains a perceived conflict of interest between like governments, corporate elites, and like native citizens. The next is going to be prefer our prep is key because subpoint A, imagination and irony contingency is like according to Richard Rorty argues that the call of literature is that allows us to imagine an alternate reality and become empowered. The next is going to be legitimization. Through BL, we give imagination an official tone, which makes mockery of the official tone. C is going to be impossibility. The act of imagining the impossible allows us to reclaim the power that self has been lost in the official meta-narrative history. And D, we challenge genocide that helps create the stigma around them and have always been a battlefront to our identity, political, as a whole. And the internal link to modern Orientalism and endless war engages against Muslim bodies for the sale of Western imperialism and continued intervention a world away.
Can we get,
So, can we get all text, roll the ballot, or actually not all text, the plan was rest, right?
Yeah. No, the plan was not res.
Okay, then can we get plan text
Yes, we'll get plain text and you send roll judge.
and roll of the judge?
Okay, you're gonna just, yeah, you want. We can just start flexible while we're getting this. Okay.
we'll prefer to wait.
Okay, that's fine. This is the. Here is the role of the judge. Let me know if you can't read it. I can run fast.
Yes, read the roll of the judge first.
Roll the judge. Vote for the team with method.
The best methods with the best methods.
Best.
Is that not listed?
No,
Oh, it's not right.
the best method for disrupting colonial violence.
Awesome, and then plan text is the International Court Justice should rule that Israel is violating the Genocide Convention in response to Israel's treatment of Palestinians in Gaza by demanding an immediate end to military violence and establishment of a sovereign Palestine state in southern Lebanon.
Correct.
Okay, start at time, 2 minutes.
2 minutes start.
Now, okay, can you go us, run us over your harms again? Just quickly. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically saying that they're like America and Israel colonial violence is co-amplifying, and they're using like these tools to continue to inflict genocidal like terror through dissemination in exchange between like settler entities. So that's the first one. The second is going to be like there is an unbreakable bond that constitutes the American is like that America and Israel does away with like any sort of like strategic defense planning in favor for genocidal uses.
Okay.
And then the third is going to be the exception that colonized people should accept self-defense and reject nuclearism, like resembles colonial demands for civility, and the only refusal of words that that deems Palestinians, like, yeah, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, can you define colonial violence, please?
Yeah, so we would say that colonial violence in of itself is any kind of violence that pushes on any kind of like colonial violence is any kind of like violence that is literally defended by or is defended by any kind of like cultural law. So we would say
Yeah.
that you're pushing forth your own like personal identity onto
Your,
someone else.
yeah, and your own personal gain.
Okay. Yes. 3 minutes. Oh, yes.
Just to, time buffer, we're gonna go, 2 off, yeah, 2 off, then if I have time on.
Is one of your off long?
Oh, very, yeah.
Okay.
What is it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Everybody ready? The role of the judge is to vote for the team the best exposed normalization of sex law. A, analysis within this round is necessary to challenge the normalization the cellular violence as a framework which is regulated into past rather than ongoing impacts that shape American politics and culture. B, critical pedagogy is the best way to disrupt that discourse. It draws from the structural critique, extending that analysis as a site of reproduction, resistance, and social transformation. This examines the power and domination of psychology that exists within the space. B, fiat policy making is bad. A, imagines this space in an unreal society, a social location that can be transcended by thought experience. This abandonment of the centrality of land and speciality foregoes any ability to interact with and analyze the land we are on. B, fiat claims the solvency or settler moves to innocence to appease the way they feel in relation to the land. Thesis. The structures of sex law shape our relationship to each other and knowledge production. Only by understanding the structures of sex law can we identify how it is operationalized in social spaces. A, land is property. The people are differently positioned relative to the ability to own it. This logic permeates the social spaces of several nations, such as the United States, echoing through homes, workplaces, and places of learning. Reclining with this irrationality allows for productive destabilization of potentially facile and deterministic readings of settler colonial structures that locate some as settlers and others not. Links. The ICJ is rooted in the international liberal order, which is settler colonialism. It imposes a Western concept of justice on the entire world, which justifies the expansion of settler colonialism. The act legitimizes the ICJ, which allows them to justify future colonial expansion. Both legitimizes and endorses this Western epistemology as a denomination. The domination as an objective narrative, which is how the settlers were able to justify the atrocities they committed. 2, the act is a settler movement to innocent. It allows Western world to proclaim that we are doing something when we're actually not able to end the violence because Israel is not signatory to the ICJ and will not listen to the ICJ ruling. This allows for us to feel better about ourselves, materially benefiting from our own existence on stolen land, while no change happens in Gaza itself. This legitimizes the settler state of Israel. It renders the ongoing genocide of Palestinians in the West Bank invisible. The genocide has been killing in the last 5 months and by not labeling it as violence, and they are in constant process of expanding settlement in that region. It illegitimizes Israel's right to exist by viewing Israel as a sovereign state. Through the act solves death through a Western frame where death is eternal. Impact. So psychology props up the logic of genocide, necessitating the elimination of owners of territory through any means necessary. No such problems with Devil's analysis of logic and elimination, which in its specificity to the settler colonialism, it is premised on the securing of the maintaining of territory. This logic requires the elimination of the owners of that territory, but not in any particular way. To this extent, it's a larger category than genocide. It includes not only homicide, but also state-sanctioned miscegenation, and the issuing of individual land titles and citizenship, child abduction, religious conversion, reprogramming. Assimilation is just as bad because oppressive authenticity eliminates larger numbers of empirical native from official reckoning, and as such is often associated with the genocidal practice forms of killing. Our thesis is the uniqueness of the uniqueness links and impact function as an independent DA and evaluate the app based on proximity. All vote nay to endorse the ethic of resurgence. One, the ethic of resurgence is identifiable direction of the human pattern of thought and action that reflects shift to an indigenous reality from the colonized places we inhabit today in our minds and our souls. An ethic of resurgence offers new normative grounds to formulate strategies to resist colonialism, which starts within this microcosm of the political sphere, to the refined measures to a resurgent indigenous movement. A, land is life. Indigenous ancestors have teachings and values connected to the terrain. The country is more than a place, it is a place where ancestors live and continue to live. The connection to the land is not one of ownership but spirituality. B, language of power. Language of power. Language holds ways of knowing. Indigenous languages hold on to the conceptual universe. For example, Inuits have 50 different words for snow, showing how the relationship and importance related to snow is more complex. C, freedom is on the other side of fear. Colonial powers use indigenous bodies use fear to keep indigenous bodies complacent, confronting the fear necessary to overcome colonial domination. D, decolonize or die. This mantra calls for regaining self-sufficiency, which looks like a reintroduction of traditional customs, including your ways of knowing and culinary practices. Each change never happens one way at a time. One way is a person or male or female, native or non-native, from any time in history, any segment of society who has managed to find that place inside themselves, that has that integrity, that has managed to generate power and confidence. The movement toward decolonization will emanate from transformations achieved by the direct guide experience in a small personal group that one-on-one mentoring towards a new path. This engagement involves a post-colonial cultural policy that does not need to press any policy instrument to obtain its objectives. Rather, a post-colonial cultural policy needs to destabilize. It needs to challenge the colonial order and render precarious its curtains and identities. On case, moving to on case, new sheet. This is why the alt sells for the app. The alt is a way to destabilize the colonial order. The reason this situation is happening in Gaza because of a set call. No matter what the app says they can solve, they'll never be able to completely solve the conflicts like these. The app lives in a world where these conflicts are inevitable. That all is the only way we can escape that world. Okay, moving to case. Fiat.
Against fiat good.
Against fiat good. Fiat good. Fiat allows us to make mockery of officials.
Is what they said.
Is what they said.
And that's our argument.
Fiat does not uniquely allow us to make mockery of official policy or colonist reality. You can do the same by rejecting a fiat entirely and running a K. So this argument is not unique. You can also be topical and reality without fiat through critically framed primitives that don't require fiat. B, imagine the impossible. This argument that fiat and therefore their case allows you to imagine the impossible is uniquely bad for debate because it claims that their case, the anti-colonial case, is impossible, and it also prevents us from developing real-world strategies to actually resist colonialism. C, challenging genocide. This argument is not unique. Notice how our case that rejects fiat entirely challenges second call and genocide. Genocide ruling emboldens Israel lash out. Israel handles by getting rid of Netanyahu and replaces him with someone else. B, the ruling challenges Israel's sovereignty and provokes a defensive response. Israel citizens who have been directly harmed by attacks from Hamas will rally around a political leader who strengthens. C, Benjamin Netanyahu is getting charged for corruption and going through a Supreme Court process. Since Israel historically has early re-elections, the people who can call for one and garner support for Basil Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir, who harbor deep anti-Palestinian views and are resistant to U.S. proposals for being too friendly toward Palestinians. Try or die is a
That's don't read that yet.
okay. Scratch that. No competency. According to the Amnesty International, Israel already defied the ICJ ruling to prevent genocide by not allowing food aid, which means that the plan has no influence on Israel. The U.S. is not bound by the ICJ. They withdrew in 1986 after they were condemned by the ICJ for funding the ICJ after they were condemned by the ICJ funding the Contras in Nicaragua. But the U.S. continued to do so, which proves that U.S. will not listen to ICJ. Hey, this is a term of no competency because the U.S. is the only ally Israel needs. The U.S. is the only ally keeping other countries. B, the U.S. is the only country keeping other countries from supporting Israel despite their own desires. On multiple occasions, when voting for a ceasefire, the U.S. and its most immediate allies have been the only ones against it, and that has been enough to prevent ceasefires or even national Palestinian aid from happening. Meaning that as long as the U.S. isn't on board, the ICJ and its constituents don't have the ability to do anything based on the app plan passing.
Okay. then, okay, wait, now you say, hey, everyone, let's try to stay, try or die, and then.
They're gonna try and say, try or die, which is, colonist epistemology. Settlers frame everything through the risk of their death. They fetishize their own demise and use that to justify stealing from others. And don't, let them steal this win for us.
Before we start, can we get your alt?
Yeah.
Your role of.
Yeah, I
judge.
have it.
Role of the judge, role of the ballot.
It's right, it's there.
Is that-
Wait, did you write it? Wait, what's that?
It's the all in rule of,
Wait, can we see that for a second?
Yeah.
Did you write an intro, please?
oh, no, yeah, it's a trivia, my trivia. Is that on?
I was gonna write that part.
Oh.
Yeah, just.
You just can just tear it off.
Yeah, or just cross it off with your pen and you won't acknowledge it.
All right, perfect.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
Is it on?
Vote neg to endorse an ethic of resurgence. Our role of the judge is vote for the team that best exposes the normalization of sex. And with that, we can start class. What is pedagogy?
Pedagogy is like the theory of like teaching.
So from pedagogy, everybody gets education?
Pedagogy affects epistemology as well, and yeah, it directly affects education because that's what it concerns.
Cool. Why do you need the ballot?
Huh?
Why do you need the ballot?
All right, I'll tell you. Alt solvency. Change happens one word at a time. Pretty much the ballot says that, one, you're endorsing that ethic of resurgence, that change happens one word at a time, which is altering like the foundations of settler colonialism.
What is resurgence?
Resurgence, okay. We are endorsing an ethic of resurgence. These are old ethics that are not used anymore, indigenous ethics, and we are like resurging them. So we are
I
bringing
mean,
them
what
back
is the definition of the word resurgence?
to bring back something that has been phased out, essentially.
Okay. And then, on your links, you say that, can you just write me down what the links are and what they say?
Yeah, I can. First link is that, how much do you want me to read first of all?
It's just a brief summary.
Yeah, just the links you read.
Okay, the ICJ is rooted in the international liberal order, which is settler colonial.
How does the app link the K?
How does the AF link the K?
Yes.
Well, you're directly supporting the ICJ. Yeah, our second link is the AF is a settler move to innocence. By supporting the ICJ, it allows the Western world to claim that we are not doing something when we actually are not able to end the violence because Israel is not a signatory to the ICJ and will not listen to the ICJ. Oh, and subpoint B is that this legitimizes the settler state of Israel. That's an important one.
Did y'all read a framework? I still need the answer to that.
Yeah, we did. It's the role of the judge is to vote for the team that best exposes, and then we have subpoint. We have A and subpoint A and subpoint B.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
So sorry. Alright. For an order, it's gonna go the K. I'll signpost which part's the K in the dressing. And then it's gonna go, extending the app.
Just to confirm, it's you're going to pay them now.
The one position that the neg ran and then E. Okay, so I'm gonna, yeah. All right, is anyone not ready? On the alt, we're gonna say permed, you can do both because we're literally fighting resurgence. Resurgence is actually, the definition of resurgence is fighting something within the walls of something. Therefore, because we are like giving like the state of Palestine the ability to like solve for these harms, we're fighting within, and that's the only way that you can actually have tangible effects with that. And then they're gonna try to come up here and say that they're mutually exclusive, but we say no, because we are literally doing this through our plan. And I'll extend that later. And then, you're gonna go on the second one, disadvantageous genocide. Mary Tom states that refusing to engage in the state mechanisms, shift the responsibility towards like the individual, which replicates the same exclusion and power that they criticize within the debate space, dismissing political deliberation and tertiary policy failure. It reproduces the harms of both the app and the K. Additionally, the criticism by here creates political momentum. The lack of policy cooperation dissected the native momentum until like it could no longer like effectively participate in the like social field. The alt doesn't solve. Refusing incremental improvements based on like pure ethics is the internaling of through genocide and violence. And then yeah. Oh yeah. And enforcing philosophies are good and actually. Enforcing philosophies based on purity of ethics results in mass amounts of violence because there is no actual like tangible effect. We're gonna say this had co-op. We're gonna say that if we don't adopt this now, that then other like far like right individuals will also like just for example like they will also like adopt this and they will actually do it in like in a worse way to like implement it. So we have to do it or like the app has to do it. We're gonna say net benefits. This gives all the net benefits. We still get access to the resurgence that they're claiming for, and we also still give like we saw for like the genocide in like Palestine. And then framework, they're gonna cross apply the role of the judge that we provide you. Role of judge, but vote for the team with the best method of disrupting colonial violence. Literally, we talk about colonial violence and how that's a way. And this goes first because colonial violence is literally how settler colonialism comes to be. Is that it is settler colonialism is literally obtained through violence itself, and that's the only way you can actually have it. So you have to put the app on top. And then you're also going to say the all overlooked political solutions. We say that that in the status quo political solutions are the only way that you can actually have tangible effect and externalize all the ideologies that we're trying to talk about in round. This is the only way. This is like the best practice for debaters because we like learn to be good advocates and like we do good advocacies and like we learn how to become better like policymakers ourselves. Turn prevent problem solving makes the case impossible to the K. Dissad. Policy options are good and a good form of debate. This is the way that we create clash. This is the way that we learn certain topics. So like we're better for education as a whole. And then fiat is good, allows us to envision the world, hypothetical policy. We need to know how to reform society. In order to gain any of the knowledge that they talk about, we need to do this through policy because of the fact that we're gaining the knowledge, but not only that, and just gaining the knowledge isn't enough. We still need to learn how to engage with the outside world, how to actually produce tangible effects from that knowledge itself. And then static notions of the state are bad. They say that the state is linear and this is bad because of the fact that everything is ever changing and we still need to learn how to interact with the world and in the status quo. Viewing the state as singular and unchanging leads to scapegoating of the system rather than examining the root cause. We say that they say that the links are like the links were the IC.
Yeah, the ICJ.
Yeah, they say that the links are the ICJ and the fact that there's like no like probability of that. No, let's look this up.
They're talking to the ICJ. They're really saying that like the ICJ is expanding several.
Yeah, they said that the ICJ is expanding colonial set call. However, we say that they link to their own K because of the fact that they don't take into account how the ICJ could have been colonized themselves, and that there is still like this hierarchy of how colonization works. And until you get to that main actor, you cannot solve for all the colonizing like harms that they highlight. Any ruling should be individual reason to vote them down, and the link to us come from like the position of ignorance, whereas like the conscious of the ideology they would endorse such as far like complicity. This is murder, which is like manslaughter impacts. Appropriating the other violently seizes the right to speak for selfish ends and the neg attempts to get the ballot. When we narrate the suffering of others, we exercise the authorial power. We exercise the authorial power by gaining whose voices are being heard, and this creates a romantic ventriloquism. And this is too easy for academics to co-opt for their own end. For example, Andrea Smith, who adopted like Native American studies, so that she could like produce her own knowledge of it. We need to say that we need to give these individuals their own voices so they can advocate for themselves. If they take up any positive implications of the K because the negative allows the space clear and can never let the others speak for themselves. In turn, the implications of the performances only further commodifies the use of like pay for others for personal gain, which is what the neg is trying to do. And then onto like extending the. They say that the role of the judge is like to and what is. The role of judge is for the team who best exposes the normalization of sex colonialism. However, we say that through interrogating how sex colonialism comes to be, you still need to prefer our role of the judge because it takes into account how the violence is actually causing the sex colonialism itself. So you're going to prefer our role of judge, and that's the easy way to the ballot. Again, and then you're going to want to extend all the harm that Simi does a great job of explaining how the American and Israel violence is like complying in the toxic tools. This is basically what our act is saying, is that right now there are harms and like how there is American and Israeli colonial violence, and the only way that you can solve this is obviously through voting AF. We say that the plan is better because of the fact that it does resurgence from the inside, because we are utilizing the state to disrupt and eradicate all of the like that colonialism and the colonization that they take into account. We still say that the plan is the best option, but even if you're not buying that, you can still perm because like set colonialism, like colonization like violence is still like causing set colonialism. And then we say, yeah, so you can extend the harms that they didn't go like directly overturned. They still, if they can see that these harms are actually prevalent in the status quo, then they still can see that the act can solve, and they can see that we can actually solve for these harms. And we say that like these like tangible effects also need to be taken into account, because it teaches us how to like externalize like policy. And then on case on their articulations, they say that colonial order. Oh yeah, they keep saying that fiat is bad, fiat is bad. However, any and the kind of knowledge that we gain out of this is how we look into the world and how we are able to imagine the world post-fiat. That is the only way that Clash was even like created, is because of the fact that we are able to talk about how like the impacts are going to solve. Impacts themselves are a version of fiat because we're talking about how the world looks. So if they have impacts, like they're relating to that argument. And then they say that like we make like a mockery of policy. However, no, we say that we are giving the education of how to utilize policy and include those ideologies in order to like solve for like more harms. Oh, and then yeah, on the framework arguments, we outframe them because the only thing that they talk about is literally that policy is bad and fiat is bad. However, we say that we still say that we must understand how colonialism is like spurred by current policies, what is this called? Policy and approaches to prevent error replication. We still say that we need to take this into account because of the fact that, and we can only do this through policy. And then extend the framework, the extend points C and D, they don't directly respond to this. And the third point, also part A of those, because of the fact that if they can see that our framework is still better and they don't overturn these, we still win on this. Decolonization is a prior question, it's an ongoing process. It requires creating spaces that inclusive, respective, and hourly. Like Indigenous know. We still say that decolonization is prioritized. Yeah, and then also they can see the plan. It's basically a two-state process, which is how we are able to like create the resurgence in by within.
Palestinian state in the southern Levant.
Palestine, what?
A sovereign Palestinian state in the
A sovereign Palestinian state in the
southern Levant.
southern Levant. So.
Yeah. One question.
Yeah.
How does the
Oh, sorry.
I started time.
oh,
I started, go ahead.
how does the establishment of a state in southern Levant add to your solvency?
Oh, yeah. So it's basically looking at the fact that like,
If we can imagine how
can you elaborate on that,
Yeah.
please?
That was the question.
but can you elaborate on it?
Yeah.
Can you rephrase it? Can you just tell
I'm
us?
sorry, I don't really know how.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm just confused. I just don't know like what specifically the southern Levant portion adds to the rest. Like, what does that do for your case, you know?
It's more so the fact that like, okay,
It's like describing like the area, so it's like, this is establishing a sovereign Palestinian state within the area of the southern Levant.
it just adds to how we can envision the plan and actually
Yeah.
interact with policy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Is that time?
No.
Okay, we are going to start with, on case, then we'll move to off case. I'm gonna start the time, I'm gonna start the time now. First, I'm going to extend our terms that a genocide ruling emboldens Israeli lash out. Israel hand washes by getting rid of Netanyahu and replaces him with someone else. I'm going to extend that subpoint A. I'm going to send subpoint B2, which is that the ruling challenges Israel's sovereignty and provokes a defensive response. Israel's citizens who have been directly harmed by attacks from Hamas will rally around a political real who strengthens. Subpoint C is that Benjamin Netanyahu is scared of corruption and going through a Supreme Court process. Since Israel historically has early re-elections, the people can call for wanting garner support for Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir, who harbor deep anti-Palestinian views and are resistant to U.S. proposals for being too friendly towards Palestinians. These case turns, when Cole conceded, you're going to have to extend those through, and those alone are going to, well, they're not going to cause you to necessarily vote on presumption, but they're going to cause you to recognize that their case and their, what's it called? Their plan does the opposite of what they aim to do, because like it's generally granting us offense against their case. Okay, and we're going to extend our no solvency arguments, which was one, according to Amnesty International, Israel has already defied the ICJ ruling to prevent genocide by not allowing coup, which means that the plan has no influence on Israel. And point two, the US is not bound by the ICJ, and they withdrew in 1986 after they were condemned by the ICJ for funding, as they were condemned by the in Nicaragua. But the U.S. continue to do so. We're going to extend subpoint A that this is terminal no solvency because the U.S. is the only ally Israel needs. This is going to be key to understanding that they have literally no offense and no access to like any possibility of winning because their entire plan does not have any offense. All right. And subpoint B, the U.S. is the only country keeping other countries from supporting Israel despite their own desires. On multiple occasions, when voting for a ceasefire, the U.S. and its most immediate allies have been the only ones against it, and that has been enough to prevent said ceasefires or even national Palestinian aid from happening. Meaning that as long as the U.S. isn't on board, the ICJ and its constituents don't have the ability to do anything based on the AFT plan passing. Meaning that even if the AFT plan passes, it just passes, but it doesn't actually affect Gaza or Palestine or Israel at all. Okay, that is also going to be terminal no solvency. That's two reasons for terminal no solvency. And so you're going to be automatically voting neg on presumption because there is absolutely no reason to vote for the AFT, and they're going to try to run try or die. But we're going to extend that try or die as a colonist epistemology because settlers frame everything through the risk of their death, and they fetishize their own demise, using that to justify stealing of land from others. And don't let them steal this win from us with try or die. Extend that through cleanly. Okay, completely uncontested. Those alone are going to be reasons that you vote for the neg. And we are going to even independent of our actual case. So even if they beat us on framework, which they're not necessarily doing, you still have to vote neg because you don't have a reason to vote AF. Okay. We're gonna extend that our framework and point B, which is absolutely key to understanding this round, which is that critical pedagogy is the best way to disrupt discourse, specifically settler colonial discourse. It draws from the structural critique and extending that analysis as a site of reproduction, resistance, and social transformation. This examines the power and domination of Sekol as it exists within this space. And okay, so this is immediately addressing the most proximate space available to this debate, which is this debate itself. So our framework, that part of our framework, which went uncontested, is actually crucial to understand this debate entirely and understanding why our framework is so necessary. All right. Okay, we're going to extend fiat being bad because fiat does not uniquely allow us to make a mockery of official policy or colonist reality. You can do the same by rejecting fiat entirely and running a K, and you can also do that by being topical and running a critically framed app. We're going to extend that through, meaning that the actual critique of official policies or states or anything or settler colonialism itself is not unique to fiat, meaning that it's not actually fiat that's good. All right, and as far as imagining the impossible goes, it's not good to imagine the impossible and use that as justification for your argumentation, because this argument that fiat allows you to imagine the impossible and therefore their case allows you to imagine the impossible is uniquely bad for debate, because it claims that their case, which is an anti-colonial case, is one, impossible, and it also prevents us from developing real-world strategies to actually resist colonialism and extend that clean through. And point C, which is challenging genocide. Yeah, fiat is not the only thing that allows you to okay, fiat does not, fiat doesn't uniquely allow you to challenge genocide. You can do that with or without fiat. It's not unique. So notice that our case rejects fiat entirely and challenges Sekol and genocide. That went unresponded as well. And we're going to extend our arguments that fiat policy making is bad, because it forces us to imagine a space as an unreal social location that can be transcended by thought experience. This abandonment of the centrality of land and specialty forgoes any ability to interact with and analyze the land that we're on. So we're not even arguing that policy making is bad in itself. Policy making can be good, but it's the fiated aspect that is horrible. And as far as the argument that policy generates education, policy debate generates education, policy policy is not the only thing, that is not a unique argument to policy at all. We are generating education. You can generate equal education with Ks. And more specifically, you can generate critical education and critical pedagogy, which is going to be way more valuable, especially in this particular round, than topic-specific education, because this entire round is about challenging the norms of existing society and settler colonialism as we know it. So yeah, critical pedagogy, critical education are going to take priority over topic-specific education any day, especially in this debate. And fiat and claim to solvency are settler moves to innocence to appease the way they feel in relation to the land. We're going to extend that too. So don't allow them to do fiat. That is also going to allow you to understand that further on our claims of no solvency, they don't even, not only does passing their plan not give them access to solvency, but they don't even get access to the passing of their plan because they do not articulate how or specify why it would ever pass or why anybody in the ICJ would ever pass it. Okay. So because of those reasons, you're obviously going to be voting for the negative. I've already elaborated on that. Okay. What else? Oh, on the perm, I forgot to mention this. Yeah, we're kicking the alt. And we can kick the alt specifically because, well, we actually preempted the necessity to kick the alt in our actual K. We said our thesis is the uniqueness of the K. The uniqueness links an impact function as an independent DA and outweighs the app based on proximity, meaning that even if we kick the alt and don't need it, we can still use our impacts and our links as an independent disadvantage. So we're going to be kicking the alt completely. There was no articulation that kicking the alt was bad for debate or that we should drop the debater for kicking the alt. So don't let them say that now. Just kick the alt and evaluate our K based on its links and impacts. And because of that, I'm going to be saying we're going to extend our links. The ICJ is rooted in the event of the board, which is settler colonial. We are not. We didn't say the ICJ expands SECOL, which was their counter argument against this. We said that it was rooted in settler colonialism, and this point is going to beat their argument that the ICJ was colonized themselves, because if they are rooted in settler colonialism, then they are the one perpetuating SECOL themselves. Okay, so don't evaluate their argument against our first link, and evaluate our second link as well. We're going to extend that the app is a settler move to innocence and allows the Western world to proclaim that they're not doing something when we actually are not able to end violence because the rules out of ICJ.
All right, 4 minutes. Everybody ready? All right. Ready, set, now. All right, first and foremost, going to our extensions, their K, extending our subpoint A and subpoint B, which explains basically where something is. Oh yeah. That this allows this allows us to feel better about ourselves, material benefiting from our existence on stolen land while no change happens in God's itself, uncontested. B, this legitimizes the settler state of Israel. Again, uncontested. Again, and these because they go uncontested, it proves the fact that what they're trying to do in their K is exactly the opposite of what they actually like. The effect is the opposite of what they're actually going for. And they're perpetuating settler colonialism and settler violence, unintentionally. And if you're not even, let's move on to that. If we even left the no solvency, again, they have no solvency judges. So even if you have offense on their, even if you can write some type of offense because they have no solvency, then you have nothing to vote aft for. They have no offense. They don't interact.
Extend these.
Extending the no solvency, according to Amnesty International, Israel already defined the ICJ ruling to prevent genocide by and then the U.S. is not bound by the ICJ. They withdrew in 1986 after they were condemned by the ICJ.
Extend these points.
And then extending subpoint A and B is A, this is no terminal solvency because the U.S. is the only ally Israel needs. and again, uncontested. B, the US is the only country keeping other countries from supporting Israel, despite their own desires on multiple occasions when voting for ceasefire in the US. And its most immediate allies have been the only ones against it, and that has been enough to prevent said ceasefires or even national Palestinian aid.
Now move on to this.
And again, if they, I don't know, I'm thinking about that at the end. So if you're not voting off that, we went off that, as my partner explained, we went off fiat, we went off policy. How fiat, my partner already greatly explained how fiat laws should be impossible and how,
We didn't say false, but I said fiat was bad,
okay,
but, read the terms instead.
And again, and as we kicked off, we can still use the impacts and our links to generate offense, which again goes uncontested. So because there's literally no offense on the app, you have nothing to vote for, and we have all the offense. So even if it comes down to it,
Extend the terms.
extend the term of genocide and ruling in bodies, emboldened, Israeli lash out, Israeli hands, and then, Israel hand washes, by getting rid of, Netanyahu, and replaces him with someone else. The ruling challenges Israel's sovereignty and provokes a defensive response. The Israel citizens who have been directly harmed by attacks from Hamas will rally around a political leader who strengthens. Benjamin Netanyahu is getting charged for corruption and going through a Supreme Court process since Israel historically has early re-elections. People can call for one, garner support for much more harmful leaders who are much more anti-Palestine. So again, judges, you're gonna be voting neg. And I do not want to let App come up here and try to make these cases or turn their arguments to why they have solvency or why they have offense or why because it's good. We've already established that we're winning on all these cases. And again, they have no solvency.
Pre-emptor.
And then they're trying to try to die. They're gonna come here and try to die. And again, it is a cognitive epistemology.
Say.
And at the very least, you can be voting then on presumption, or you can vote. Or vote on case terms. Thank you. That's my thought.
All right, 1 minute is left, so. Oh, no, she didn't pick it up.
Okay, for a quick off time roadmap, it's gonna be an overview. It's gonna go on to, I guess, the next case. And then on to, then just extending the affirmative. All right, starting my 5 minutes, starting now. At the end of the day, Judge, we'll be voting for the affirmative because we're actively stopping the ongoing, genocide within Palestinians within, Gaza, through the establishment of a sovereign Palestinian state in the southern Levant. Now, onto the actual neg, if they go ahead and kick their alternative, they kick their advocacy. All the app has to do is prove that their role of the judge or role of the ballot is the clearest way of debate. The role of the judge is also conceded, so this also flows through. To reinstate my role of the judge, it is to vote for the team with the best method for disrupting colonial violence, which we are doing. Again, this is completely flow through, but they don't actually they don't We don't
run that.
Yeah, we don't run our app to prove the likelihood of the ICJ. They actually like completely misinterpret the affirmative. And we say that this is best for externalizing what is discussed in the debate space. Their links are irrelevant if the premise of the affirmative is to create the most education and pedagogy, considering the fact they like take their, like, they completely kick their like all. Now, moving on, like furthermore, like onto this, they also go on to talk about like, no. And then at the end of the day, we still extend the harms and solvency, so we still get to, we literally get to like feed you into the easiest way of the ballot because we are like extending our harms and our solvency. Not only this, but they also like completely do not like address any of Ileana's like claims, talking about how they use the pain and suffering of others to simply secure like their own win, which they themselves link into their own cave like settler colonialism. Now, and that is an independent reason to like vote for the affirmative. Now, going on to extend the actual affirmative. Mind you, they have completely gone on to like dismiss our plan text altogether, which is literally to like literally talking about how like Israel is violating the Genocide Convention in response to Israel's treatment of Palestinians in Gaza by demanding the immediate end to like military like violence and the establishment of a sovereign Palestinian state in the southern Levant. They completely like they just don't even like go on to talk about our plan. And then like extending point 2 of our framework, the present situation demands for colonistic thinking that shift away, like we engage with the real world issues and act as epistemic disobedience. Again, this whole like idea relies on like a theory of praxis. Like it presupposes a simultaneous like recognition of resistance against colonial constructions, which like extending this point is like a whole like
Extending this point is important because it literally talks about how we externalize.
Extending this point is extremely important because it literally talks about like how we externalize this within the debate space. Now on to which is the role of the ballot and like the role of the judge. Now again, fiat is good because we're actually able to imagine a world in which like it is like a currently like is a critical tool for disrupting like colonial invasion. Again, this allows us to actually affirm the resolution through decall methods and this is a question of our own theoretical like justification and practices and how we like play this game of debate. Again, like so them saying that fiat is bad is literally just saying that like it's just questioning how we actually are able to debate. And then going on to like say that like if they go ahead and like concede that we solve as far as our like impacts out like and our solvency, then you would still vote affirmative. Because again, like they completely like drop like or like
We still gain the knowledge outside of this round.
Yeah,
how we engage in policy itself.
Yeah, we still gain knowledge outside of this round and like how we engage with policy like with itself. Again, like they go on to talk about like they go on to talk about like policy, but again, policy options are good for debate because at the end of the day, we still are able to leave this debate round with the knowledge of how policy works and how like to like later on become good policy makers within like this like because of the education that we like gained like from this round. And then again, like extending on our harms or like at the end of the day, like at the end of the day, like prefer our like role of the judge because again, it is to vote for the team with the best method for disrupting colonial violence, which is something that the affirmative is doing. They literally kick their alt so they don't have any solvency themselves. So at the end of the day, the best this is the most direct way to the ballot and a direct vote for the affirmative. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you so very much. Good job.